Good evening. Tonight I'm reading a bedtime story from Folktales from India, edited by A.K. Ramanujan. This is a Telugu tale called What Happens When You Really Listen. A villager who had no sense of culture and no interest in it was married to a woman who was very cultured. She tried various ways of cultivating his taste for the higher things of life, but he just wasn't interested. Once a great reciter of that grand epic, the Ramayana, came to the village. Every evening he would sing, recite, and explain the verses of the epic. The whole village went to this one-man performance as if it were a rare feast. The woman who was married to the uncultured dolt tried to interest him in the performance. She nagged him and forced him to go and listen. This time he grumbled as usual, but decided to humour her. So he went in the evening and sat at the back. It was an all-night performance and he just couldn't keep awake. He slept through the night. Early in the morning, when a canto was over and the reciter sang the closing verses for the day, sweets were distributed according to custom. Someone put a few sweets into the mouth of the sleeping man. He woke up soon after and went home. His wife was delighted that her husband had stayed through the night and asked him eagerly how he had enjoyed the Ramayana. He said, "It was very sweet." The wife was happy to hear it. The next day his wife again insisted on his listening to the epic. So he went to the enclosure where the reciter was performing, sat against a wall, and before long fell fast asleep. The place was crowded, and a young boy sat on his shoulder and made himself comfortable, and listened open-mouthed to the fascinating story. In the morning, when the night's portion of the story came to an end, everyone got up, and so did the husband. The boy had got off earlier, but the man felt aches and pains from the weight he had borne all night. When he went home and his wife asked him eagerly how it was, he said, "It got heavier and heavier by morning." The wife said, "That's the way the story is." She was happy that her husband was at last beginning to feel the emotions and the greatness of the epic. On the third day he sat at the edge of the crowd and was so sleepy that he lay down on the floor and even snored. Early in the morning a dog came that way and pissed into his mouth a little before he woke up and went home. When his wife asked him how it was, he moved his mouth this way and that, made a face, and said, "Terrible. It was so salty." His wife knew something was wrong, asked him what exactly had happened, and didn't let up till he finally told her how he had been sleeping through the performance every night. On the fourth day his wife went with him. She sat him down in the very first row and told him sternly that he should keep awake no matter what happened. So he sat dutifully in the front row and began to listen. Very soon he was caught up in the adventures and the characters of the great epic story. On that day the reciter was enchanting the audience with the story of Hanuman the monkey, and how he had to leap across the ocean to take Rama's signet ring to Sita, the abducted wife of Rama. When Hanuman was making his leap, the signet ring slipped from his hand and fell into the ocean. Hanuman didn't know what to do. He had to get the ring back quickly and take it to Sita in the demon's kingdom. While he was wringing his hands, the husband, who was listening with rapt attention in the first row, said, "Hanuman, don't worry, I'll get it for you." Then he jumped up and dived into the ocean, found the ring in the ocean floor, and brought it back and gave it to Hanuman. Everyone was astonished. They thought this man was someone special, really blessed by Rama and Hanuman. Ever since he has been respected in the village as a wise elder, and he has also behaved like one. That's what happens when you really listen to a story, especially the Ramayana. The end. Good night.